From the audience, we have a clever question. How long does it take for a non-native, exotic, so-called invasive plant or animal to get its green card? Can the grizzly bear ever be repatriated in California?
Yeah, great question. And of course, I'm devoting all my energy and income, and I hope Oprah's listening, to tearing down everything in Montecito and reintroducing the grizzly bear. That's my ambition in life. This is the essential question of the book. You know, it begins with a quote from Genesis, giving us dominion over all the animals of the sea and the birds, the fowls of the air, and so on. How do we have the right, ethically, to manipulate nature and manipulate the other animals, and what is the result of that? And so, to answer the question, what is your baseline? And so my animal activist in this, who's a very angry man, but has one essential principle, thou shalt not kill, he asked him, what is your baseline? I mean, you're going to take this island back to 1850? Or are you going to take it back to 1750, before human beings were there? I mean, why not go back to Jurassic Park? So, I mean, this is one of the central questions of trying to restore an ecosystem. It's very difficult. By the way, it was a success. Wow, I mean, it would take me a while. I can't tell you the whole story, but it's quite fascinating. In short, in 1940, Montrose Chemical dumped DDT into Santa Monica Bay. It worked its way up the food chain, and it prevented the bald eagles native to these islands from hatching their eggs. They died off. In their absence, golden eagles, which are primarily carnivorous, feeding on land animals, whereas balds are primarily piscivorous, moved in. What attracted them? Well, these delicious little piglets. However, once the sheep were removed from the island, the sheep, of course, eat everything right down to the dirt, and were negatively impacting the very ecology of the island. The trees are necessary to capture the mist, to give it water, and now there are no more adult trees because anything sprouting will be chewed up. Once the sheep left, the invasive fennel, yes, the fennel that you use in your sausage, again, in 1850, thrown there in the kitchen garden by these guys, is rampant. It's thickets as big as this room. Well, that had been chewed down to nothing by the sheep, but in their absence, now there are these huge thickets, and the delicious piglets were hiding in the thickets. Meanwhile, here are these gorgeous, cute little Disney foxes, 4 pounds, found nowhere else in the world, smaller than your house cat. And they evolved in a place where there are no predators. They don't even look up. And suddenly their numbers were being decimated. They started out with 1,500. By the time biologists found out what was going on, there were fewer than 300, and they had to do captive breeding. Lotus Vermeer, who is head of the Nature Conservancy on this island, showed me on her laptop this picture of a golden eagle chick, proud and beautiful, and we love it so much. It's this big with claws like your hands, sitting there proudly. Beneath it are the remains of 20 foxes, one of which is wearing a radio collar, which is how they figured out the problem. Okay, so kill the pigs, catch the golden eagles, not so easy to do, remove them to the Sierras, reintroduce the balds. And my wife and I were there to see the first 2 bald chicks since 1940 released on the island, and this is a few years back, so so far so good. But I mean, you know, it's a preposterous story, and it really has a great ethical dimension. And that question speaks right to it.
And as to that ethical dimension, you pose the question, how do you decide about this? Who has the right? Which species have the right to exist? Do you have an opinion on this?
Well, yes, of course, but I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
Because then it ruins it for every reader entering the book. And again, this book is being compared to a degree to the Tortilla Curtain, because it's a book about an issue, and yet it's presenting an issue and dramatizing an issue. And you know, I think this is what art is supposed to do. It's supposed to allow you to enter it into a new world and make up your own mind. You know, otherwise, give a speech, write an essay.